again guys, and welcome back to this week's video. So this week, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Microsoft Xbox, Microsoft added 76 new games to the Xbox One backwards compatibility feature. So they are games from both the original Xbox and the Xbox 360. The games available for the Xbox 360 as well have had a significant FPS boost, so they're going to look even better running on that new Xbox. So, which games do you want to play out of these 76? This week I'm bringing you my top 10 games you should play that have been added to the Xbox One backwards compatibility this week.
Sega.
First game I want to talk about is on the Xbox 360 and it is Binary Domain. This was a game I kind of forgot about. It's one of those games you kind of enjoy playing at the time but never really think about again. But now it's been added back in as backwards compatible, I really want to go through this game again. I have really good memories of playing this one. It had some really good mechanics. It was kind of like basically Terminator meets Gears of War. It's basically robots breaking into society, disguising themselves as humans, and you have to kind of find out who's running the corporation and kind of trying to take over humanity using these robots. There's some really cool cover mechanics shooting, there's some huge bosses, it's got a pretty weird cast of characters, they all kind of work together, and the guns in this game are super cool. If you enjoy your third person cover shooters, this one is definitely one to check out. The next game on the list is Conan, and once again for the Xbox 360. This is essentially very much a game in the kind of vein of God of War. I say that this is basically a rip-off of God of War, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You know, if you're going to make a third-person hack-and-slash adventure game, why not just copy the best of them all? And obviously, if you were playing only on the Xbox 360 at the time, you didn't have access to God of War. But saying that, this is a really good game. You travel the kind of world of Conan, murdering, and I mean really murdering. This game is incredibly violent, leveling up your skills and just having a good time. It's a really solid third person game, it's really good, but I do want to reiterate, this really does rip off God of War, especially if you look at the sea squid level and compare that to the Hydra battle from God of War 1, you will see exactly what I mean, but definitely one to recommend. Hand on heart, this next entry is a little bit of a cheat, as it is more of a franchise rather than just a single game. But it's really cool that Microsoft have brought the entire Fear franchise onto backwards compatibility. So you can go back and play Fear 1, you can play Fear 2, you can play Fear 3, especially if you have the ugliest collector's edition of all time, and you can even play Fear Files. So, for people in the know, these are games that are first-person shooters with a kind of horror aesthetic. Just imagine Call of Duty meets The Ring and you're about halfway there. They also have some really cool squad mechanics, and they're just generally a really different first-person shooter for those people who are bored of kind of your standard Call of Duties and Battlefields. It's really cool they've also added all of the games in the trilogy and the Fear Files, so you can experience the entire series. Next game on this list is the first but not the last from Rockstar Games, who, contrary to belief, actually make games that are not Grand Theft Auto 5. When they are not remaking Grand Theft Auto 5 or butchering trilogies, they like to bring out games such as Manhunt, and oh my, I remember when this game first came out and the media had an absolute field day. It was literally a game where you play a murderer from death row who is creating a snuff film for some sick individuals. This game is definitely not one for the faint of heart. Even today, it is incredibly violent, and I do mean incredibly. This is not the kind of comedic violence. This is violence just in a dark place. One thing I will say, the controls for this have not aged well. It is quite clunky, but to go back and play a bit of video game history comfortably on your Xbox One is a nice addition to this service. Speaking of Rockstar and speaking of trilogies, we have the Max Payne Trilogy. This is a trilogy I'm more surprised that Rockstar hasn't gone back and made into today's graphics and given that kind of HD remaster. The games are absolute beasts of their time, and basically Max Payne just invented the bullet time shooting mechanic, which just made the game so cool. I think a lot of people played the first Max Payne, probably slightly less people played the second, and even less people played the third, which is a real shame, as I genuinely think the third game is one of the best games that's ever released for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. It kind of also sits in that one trilogy. I don't think we'll ever see any more Max Payne games. You know what? I'm happy with that. These three games put together are a fantastic package. It's great you can play them on one console, easier today. We're on to our final Rockstar game in this video, and it is Red Dead Revolver. So I'm sure everyone out there has played Red Dead Redemption, and probably a great majority of people have played Red Dead Redemption 2. But this is a game by Rockstar I have never actually played. I know, flame me in the comments down below, but I've never played the original Red Dead Revolver. I've been putting it off for quite a long while, but now I think being able to play it on the Xbox One in HD with kind of more fluent graphics and just running as a smoother game, I think it's finally time to experience this in the best way possible. So I'm really looking forward to jumping onto this one and crossing it off my list of Rockstar games I need to play. Okay, just hear me out on this one. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City may not be the best Resident Evil game, but I really do think it is one people should experience. A lot of time we say to games companies to stop churning out the same thing, but then with a company like Capcom who then release something a bit different, people just absolutely rip on it. I'm not saying this is up to the same levels as Resident Evil 4, it is just a game that I think is worth trying out. You might surprise yourself and you might actually enjoy it. It definitely throws some really different ideas into the Resident Evil games, and especially the storyline, which does get a bit weird in places, but it's definitely got some really cool ideas and some really awesome concepts. Back in the early 2000s, it seemed that every other game was based in World War II. You had shooting games, you had simulation games, they just all seemed to be in World War II, and now they seem to have all just dried up. One kind of game I really enjoy are flight sims. That's why I want to talk about Secret Weapons over Normandy. This is a game based near the end of World War II where you get to fly some really cool vehicles in kind of the late Battle of Britain over the kind of channel between Britain and Europe. There are some really cool mechanics in this game, some really good planes to fly, and it's just the kind of game we don't get nowadays, so it's really good you can play this on your Xbox. Also, one more little nugget of knowledge about this game: it is made by the people who bought you X-Wing vs TIE Fighter. That just gives you an idea of how good the combat's going to be in this game. If you didn't know, I'm a massive fan of Star Wars. There you go, a massive fan of the Star Wars video games. Even though they are few and far between these days, and even few and further in between being decent. But one game that is classic in the Star Wars library is Star Wars Jedi Outcast Jedi Knight 2. So the original Jedi Knight has already been added to the Xbox One, and now this one is also playable on the Xbox One. This is really cool because both these games have recently been ported to both the PlayStation 4 and the Switch in new physical collections on disc. So even though they haven't been added physically to the Xbox One, it's really cool to get to play these games using the backwards compatibility feature.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
Speaking of Star Wars, there's one game I really want to talk about. It's not going to be classed in the top 10 list, it's not the best game ever, but it has been added to the backwards compatibility this week, and that is Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. You may be wondering why I want to talk about a weird kind of movie tie-in game, as they're usually rubbish. That is because, spoilers ahead if you have not seen Star Wars Episode 3, at the end of the film, when Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting, obviously Obi-Wan wins, and we have the classic line of "I hate you." He gets burned and then turns into Darth Vader. If you didn't realise that by now, then well, basically in this game you can actually change the events, and you get a totally separate ending where Anakin actually wins, which is really cool. Obviously it's not canon, but it's definitely really cool to see in a video game showing what could have been happening in the Star Wars galaxy.
No, the galaxy belongs to me.
We've come to the final game of this list, or should I say games, as once again I've kind of cheated and picked two from the same franchise, them being Timesplitters 2 and Timesplitters Future Perfect. Because seriously, who can pick between these two absolute gems of first person shooting? From the campaign to the multiplayer to making your own maps, these are games that we need to be able to play in today's present climate, where these are so desperately needed. The years we have been waiting for a new Timesplitters game, we are patient, but until then we can at least play these on our new Xbox consoles. Seriously, you grab a few mates with this, you make some awesome maps in the map editor, and you are onto a winner. Definitely ones to pick up, and I think these ones are going to start to go up in price as people want to experience these ones again today. There we have it then, guys. That is our list, and it brings us to the end of the video, and I'm afraid it is going to end on a bit of a somber note. With the announcement of these 76 games to the backwards compatibility list, that is sadly all the games that Microsoft are going to be bringing to this service. They have done gamers a real service bringing this many games to that list, but sadly, according to them, that is it for now. But let me know in the comments below which games you are looking forward to jumping into first. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. It really does help the channel. And remember to subscribe, as I put new videos out every single Saturday. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's nothing else left to say, but keep playing the game. See you soon.